Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this IIPG webinar series. Today, we are bringing you the digitalization of Vaca Muerta, presented by Eugenio Ferrino and Ernesto Fonseca. Can you move to the next slide? And thank you. So, IPG Houston, we are not independent nonprofit organization incorporated in the state of Texas on March 22. And our mission is to provide a forum for the exchange of relevant scientific, technological, commercial, and regulatory issues pertaining to the energy sector of Argentina and its related markets. We promote programs for the development and growth of Argentine professionals, mostly through our, can you move to the next one? Yeah, the scholarship programs. This is our biggest thing in the ILPG. So since 2012, we are supporting Argentine professionals pursuing graduate studies in the US. We have over 20 ILPG scholarships awarded. And since 2021, we have ILPG Fulbright scholarships. This is our corporate sponsors for 2025. We really want to thank them for making this possible. We have Chevron, Pan American, Shell, and Tenaris as the platinum, Equinor, Nicholson y Cannon, Spark, and VDVG as silver, and Martinelli Abogados for support sponsors. So today we're going to use this Menti application for Q&A. So make sure that you use this code on the top of the screen to log in and make your questions as we go. And we're going to answer the questions at the end of the presentation. So today we are bringing you here, we have Eugenio Ferrino, which is the hacker director at Globant. And then we also have Ernesto Fonseca, which is an experienced petroleum engineer with more than 20 years in the energy industry. I will let them introduce themselves and start with the presentation. Thank you. Ernesto and Eugenio, the floor is yours.
All right. So thank you for attending this webinar. And thank you for the brief introduction. Yeah, my name is Ernesto Fonseca. I've worked in unconventionals and shales for about 10 years doing functions of research, operations, and development. And the last one of development, I did it in Vaca Muerta. Very excited to be here and to share the digital journey that I've been seeing in the industry, both in the United States and in Argentina with respect to shale reservoirs, and also have experience in conventional oil and heavy oil. So yes, Eugenio.
Good morning. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, IIPG, for this invitation. My name is Eugenio Ferrino. I currently work in Globant as a business hacker director. Don't worry, I am not going to hack anybody. It is, the way that we use for trying to hack the business, to try to think out of the box. That is what we do. I used to work in YPF as operation technology manager for the upstream, and I've been around involved in many projects in Vaca Muerta, always or in most of the case regarding digital and technology. And the plan is along this journey, trying to share those experiences from different point of view. And thank you very much. Please make this a conversation. We are very, very happy or pleased with all your comments and questions.
Thank you, Eugenio. So the way the presentation is going to go, I'm going to talk a little bit about the case for action purpose. And then Eugenio is going to deep dive on a few concrete examples that he's willing to share. And then at the end, I'm going to wrap it up on how all kind of comes together. And then we'll have the space for open questions, and then a few questions on the Menti survey, for in order for us to improve these type of webinars and decide what other different topics we can provide. So as indicated at the beginning, right? Let's get into it. The APG Houston is about helping the development of the industry, right? And when we ask ourselves in the technical committee, uh, topics that are common across the industry and where collaboration could be very useful, the reduction of greenhouse gases and then the digitalization are two of them that come to play, right? We already given a few webinars on decarbonization, and we're going to continue to do so. But today we're introducing the topic of digitalization. And the way I want to introduce it, and really the purpose of this call, is to create a call for action across members in the industry. It doesn't matter if you're an operator or a service company or a service provider in the industry. I think we're all facing the same challenge, right? As you can see on the left, there is a list of 12 technologies or capabilities, depends how you look at it, like robotic process automation, low code, no code, the use of Salesforce to orchestrate work, digital twins, etc. And I think we all struggle on how do we digest all of these things that are happening and they're growing and they're showing so much promise and potential. How do we embed all of that into our operations, right? So that's the call of today, is to help you kind of take that first step on understanding on what is a good way to digest all of this. And one thing I will say, the decisions you make on this will depend on your particular situation. I don't think there is a single solution for everybody, because there are probably a couple facts. You cannot do everything at once. And then second, not everything will have the same value for everybody. So when you combine those two things, you need to decide how you're going to position yourself. But one thing that is common is, I think we all have to position ourselves somewhere, somehow on this. And after we do this, we're probably going to see great opportunities for collaboration. So for example, many operators are partners in different blocks. So the way we exchange information could be made seamless. The way we survey wells and run our operations could be shared in different type of platforms, etc. So there's a lot of commonality, and what we have seen obviously in the digital industry, a lot of open sourcing type of approaches and things like that have worked very well, right? Have accelerated the creation of these capabilities. So definitely this is a space where collaboration could be a win-win situation for many involved. But again, the answer is going to be different depending where you are, right? So the way I like you to think about it is, we have all these capabilities on the left, and probably I left a few out, but we need to decide what the future of incorporating all that be, because you really need to have a systems thinking when you think about digital technology, because you don't want to optimize one area at the expense of another. You really want to have a view on how you're going to incorporate everything. And the way we're going to show up how to incorporate them is not so much do this belong in drilling, does this belong in completions. I'm going to show you in value streams. There are two main value streams and two opportunities within each value stream, and how each of them map, right? And the advantage of talking, having a conversation, always putting value first, that always allow the decision of investment to follow that value proposition, right? So the way then the flow is going to go, I'm going to show you what the target future is when we incorporate these technologies. I'm going to talk about a couple very important success factors that everybody incorporating this needs to work on. And then Eugenio is going to dive into specific examples of the applications, both describing it and how is it working. And then I'm going to wrap it up all together. So that's the plan for the next, I will say, 20 minutes. So all right. So, what is the target future? If you have to explain this to an executive, to anybody in the organization, because that's the other reason I'm doing this. I think it is important that at every level of the organization, at the executive decision making, at the managerial and leadership level, at the team level, and individual level, we all need to be aligned on what are we doing X or Y technology, or what are we chasing, right? So this really applies to everybody in the chain, right? So as we looked at technology, and I have done it in the industry with partners, etc., we have seen that there are two major value streams. The first one is increasing the efficiency of foundational elements of how we do work, and in that there are really two major games I think we can go after. The first one is the seamless use of data. Today, really, we are in an era where engineers and analysts shouldn't be spending time moving data around. They should be spending the time analyzing the data and making decisions on the data. And as I showed you with robotic process automation, we can very, very soon and very, with some reasonable amount of effort, get to that point where people are not worried about moving data, but just actually doing the work with the data. The second thing that we're seeing is a trend on work orchestration. And by work orchestration, I mean any repetitive process should already be done from a web page or from a platform like Salesforce, where everybody just logs in and works on a single document, and approvals and contributions and deadlines, and all that management of repetitive integrated work is done through platforms. So when I'm talking about the target future, is like we really need to target to a future where, again, data is not being moved by people, and where work that is integrated and repetitive is done in a centralized way, where there's a single source of the truth, where you can track progress real time, and when you have also a great audit trail. And the last benefit of work orchestration is having the ability to everybody do the work in the same way, right? The standardization. And with standardization, you get faster and better. Now, the second part of the target future we gotta aim is making step changes on how we make decisions and how we are efficient in our business. And the last one, but not least, is probably where most of the effort and capital, in my opinion, should go, is making a step change on how we execute work in the field. Not so much in the office, but really the efficiency on the front lines. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about all the different technologies and how do they map into each one of them. So at least when you leave from this webinar, you say, well, if I'm really caught up on work orchestration, this is what I should be looking after. If I really want to go after decision making, this is the type of technology I should be going after. And in that conversation, start the thinking about the use cases. Although my advice is for every organization to have a holistic conversation about the target future. But we'll get into that at the end of the webinar a little bit. So before we get to the example, let's talk about two things that are key success factors, right? From the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, in their MBA program, they talk about digital business transformation. In the case studies they have done, one of the things that they have noticed is these technology capabilities create new ways of working. The work is being done in a different way in order to capture that efficiency, right? And the other thing they notice is everything tends to gravitate to a platform mindset. Now you have individuals working on a common software element or a common process, and not working their own files individually and try to combine it later. There is more of a platform mindset that, it takes kind of a little bit of a behavioral change. And when you combine those two things, actually decision making moves in the organization. I think probably the easiest way to explain it is when you create, uh, surveillance centers. A lot of the decisions the engineers from the office tend to do now are being made by the surveillance centers. And sometimes the surveillance centers, they don't report back to the operations manager. They may report to a central service organization. So there is this, I will say, getting used to on how decisions get moved by the implementation of technology, right? And the other thing that happens when you change the way of working, maybe you need to change your organization. I mean, basically, what I'm talking organization is really who reports to who, in order to make to match the decision making, amount of authorities, capabilities, et cetera, right? So these four elements, I think, every time you do a major technological implementation, when you do your management of change, you really have to deep dive on this, because what MIT has seen that is very common out there is that people overlook these four factors, and then they are trying to correct them in a reactive way, and obviously that creates a lot of frustration, a lot of delays on implementing the technology and getting the benefit. So as you move along, don't forget these four elements and apply them. And then the second element that is a critical success factor is building all these capabilities. We are in an age where we're going to see a lot of new roles or a lot of new skills that are going to be needed in every of our organizations. We're going to need to have technical data specialists. We need to have data scientists. We need to have people that understand how to train and maintain artificial intelligence, uh, pilots for drones to collect data. How do you perform analysis of really mega data sets, not small or medium or large, but really mega data sets as you implement Internet of Things? And then you got to maintain all of these things, right? If you have metaverses, if you have virtual reality rooms, if you have blockchain contracts and things like that, who's going to administrate and maintain all of that, right? So again, you may create a great capability and technology, have dealt with the management of change elements that I have done here, but if you don't have the capabilities in the organization, then again, you're not going to be successful, right? And in both of these elements, the reason I bring them up is that they take time for to be worked out. Like you don't bring capabilities in these type of things overnight. Even if you subcontract them, the part of your subcontracting needs to really understand your business, etc. So these are two things that take time. So that's important that when we bring it very upfront in the discussion, right? And in these capabilities, again, there's many ways you can go about it, from subcontracting them, from hiring a specialist on all of these areas and putting all of them in your teams, or maybe creating a central team that shares that, or you spread them around, or you take geologists, well engineers, completion engineers, and you train them on this, right? And usually the answer is a bit of a combination, and it changes a little bit in time, right? Depending again on what your plan is. But definitely capability creation is it's a critical success factor that I like you guys to start thinking very early on. So having explained those two, I'm going to talk a little bit on the technologies that create foundational efficiency. So, robotic process automation, known as RPA, is really using software robots to automate repetitive rule based tasks. A way that I found easier to explain to people, everybody knows what an Excel macro is. Well, RPA is basically the macro for all different kinds of software, right? You can create a macro in RPA that takes data from Excel, opens an Outlook file, creates an email with that data, then maybe take a picture from a picture database and sends an email automatically every Monday. And one thing you can think of, what can I use that? Well, you can use that for reporting to the authorities, for reporting to your partners, and things like that. So when I talk about elimination of manual movement of data, there is a lot of repetitive tasks out there that with RPA you can simply just automate, right? And that allows you to do seamless data access and utilization. The other part on the foundational efficiency is workflow orchestration. I talked a little bit already on that, but it's about automating and coordinating specific tasks with a defined sequence, right? Again, you want to do this on integrated repetitive work. I think in the case of Vaca Muerta, well delivery, right? We're always delivering pads, and those pads start by applying for a permit, then defining the pad surface architecture, defining the wells, executing the wells, looking at the report of what happened on that pad, and then closing the investment, right? So in many cases, I have grown in the industry. All this process is a collection of Word and Excel documents. And the reality is we could just put this like the same way we do MOCs, all this in Salesforce, and just streamline the process and get the benefits already outlined, right? Single source of the truth, audit trail, standardization of the work, and understanding how progress is happening on real time basis, right? So to me, these are two very foundational things, right? Imagine a world where you have all those benefits of workflow orchestration and simply data access. You're going to be fundamentally as an organization a lot stronger, right? And then I'm going to pass now the time here to Eugenio, who's going to tell you a little bit about the technology examples that feed more into making the business be more efficient, either through better decisions or through better execution. So, Eugenio, floor is yours, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Ernesto. Um, First thing that I want to mention, in order to try to spoil you what the idea that we want to share is, if you see Vaca Muerta as a play, it is giving excellent results, outstanding results. Actually, in order to mention this in numbers about regarding productivity, and talking about the geology of Vaca Muerta in terms of productivity, the results are very, very great. That is, without a question, an excellent place. For instance, I'm going to share some current numbers regarding what we are talking about. If you see the last top 10 wells in the basin, from the official numbers that we have reported, that came from February this year. The big well, the well that produced the most is in February produced almost 5,400 barrels a day, with an average for entire February in 4,440 barrels a day. And if you see in the last 6 months, sorry, what about this? It's okay. Okay, sorry. Sorry about the microphone. But in the last 6 months, that wells produced a total of 550,000 birds. No, the second one, I don't want to lose in figures, but it is right now in 3,000, almost 700 birds a day. Then the productivity is very, very good. But the problem for Vaca Muerta, or the challenge, is not the geology itself, the basin itself. It is how to gain productivity. We are, far away from the market and some services, and that's why improve productivity in many ways is the challenge number one. And in that direction, technology is without a question one of the main ways to achieve this. I'm gonna try to approach this entire idea talking about four technologies in regarding four different process or business areas. For instance, if we talk about how to what are the new improvements, or what the people is doing different to achieve these goals regarding making the decision in geology. One of the big things that we have seen, and that explain, or that is part of the explanation about the result that I shared before. By the way, the well number one belongs to Vista. The well number two belongs to Total. That change every month, but we also have in this top 10 wells from YPF, Phoenix Global Resources, Exxon. What I try to explain with this, it is not that just one company is doing the right thing. It is, the entire ecosystem. It is moving in the same direction. It is not just what one company is doing. Everybody is moving in this direction, and is seeing the results. And the big change, and analyzing the geology information, mainly for making, the decision that is needed for instance, to design the right spacing from for the wells, for the patterns, or for instance, for process all the information that the company is collecting, the look back process. One of the big changes that we are seeing is, in the past, uh, most of this process came from collecting the information, uh, create database. A lot of decision was Excel made, to create big Excels, or machine or business intelligence like Power BI, or other tools like that, and try to make decision based on that. And now, in the last last year especially, we have seen a lot of changes in terms of machine learning. What this means that instead to feed a large database and try to manually process that using tools, no digital tools to make decisions. Try to what the big change is using machine learning, artificial intelligence, but very specifically machine learning to try to understand and predict these patterns that helps to make a better decision. Uh, that technology in machine learning, it is not exclusive for geology information, but it is one of the area that, without question, it's creating a big impact. And maybe some people could say, hey, this is not new. We are using machine learning in the last 10 years, and that is true. But what it's really changed from the last year and a half is the new artificial intelligence tools that are available are accelerating a lot the machine learning project. Why? Because when you see a machine learning project and you try to analyze how many time or what resources it need to create a project that help you to predict or to automatically under, understand patterns and create automatic decision. 70% of the time are dedicated to process the history and try to uh, tag the different events. No, for instance, if you want to create a machine learning process for automatically detect walks or paraffins, one of the big challenges is to create a big database and tag all the event where the paraffin occurs. That in the past used to take the 70% of the time. Now, thanks for the new technologies that are available regarding artificial intelligence, that process reduce or that time reduce very a lot of times, and with that, the cost and the efficiency for this process. No? Second technology, please go ahead.
Next slide.
Yes, please. The second thing it is what we are seeing regarding drilling and completion. No, once you make the right decision about the subsurface, then you need to develop, or the companies are very focused to develop the field. This is a capex game. No, it's everything has to do with trying to be more efficient in how the companies are investing the capex and managing the capex. I am going to show you at the end of this presentation one perfect example about what I am presenting right now. But regarding drilling and completion, this is an area where, without question, Vaca Muerta have seen and is seeing the big changes. For instance, last year in Argentina, in Vaca Muerta, we saw the records, or we achieved a new records in terms of frac stages. We we have had uh, 70,000, almost 800 fracs stages in the entire year. That gave us an average about below 1,500 stages a month, which was an excellent record. But if you see nowadays in February, again, last official number was February, we did 1,578 stages, let's say almost 2,000 stages. That means above 33% in the improvement in the activity. And we did this without improving the 33% of the frac hits. We don't have uh, 30, 30 more frac hits available in place. What we achieved this thanks to a lot of reasons, but one of those reasons was the use of the technology in different ways to improve the entire process, the entire factory process dedicated to all this activity. And if we see exactly the same regarding drilling, it was the same. Last February, it was announced that we in we can drill in a lateral. We got the record in the lateral drill in 1,050 meters in 24 hours. That is almost 5,800 feet in 24 hours. And that achievement was, in that case, was YPF. And it was possible because for a very first time, in a very success case, it was installed a total a system that automatically make the decision in a control room in a real-time intelligence center. I wanna show you some pictures from that center in the next slide or in a few slides. And from that center, with an artificial intelligence making the real-time decisions, connecting with the rig, automatically send instructions without the human intervention or with a very few human intervention, and automatically from the control room, command the rigs. And with that, we can achieve this goal. Then everything, and that was possible because they create in the control room a digital twin. This is one of the technologies that we are seeing more and more. And a digital twin, it is uh, uh, a digital, a digital, sorry, it is a copy not only from the digital from for the physical digital in this particular case well, also they digitalize the entire process. No, then you have in that digital plan you have all the planning, all the all the physics from the rocks, all the materials, everything, all the process that are involved in drilling a well, you have involved in just one digital tool that integrate all that information. And in what is the game changing is that in real time you measure what you are drilling or what you are getting in reality, and adjust your model and all your decisions with your digital twin. And by doing that, we can achieve, or we are seeing results as the one that I mentioned in terms of efficiency and in terms of also cost reduction. Please, the next one.
Okay.
Finally, the two other subjects is in this particular case is I want to talk about Internet of Things. This has to do with the and edge computing. These are two technologies that came together that has to do with the capability to move from a traditional control system based in ASA95, ISA 95 in Spanish. We are seeing how the companies are evolving this traditional way from the control system to a new way where you can have sensors and devices, different controllers that now are automatically independent and can make decisions. And also the other thing that we are seeing in different operators are how we are having more and more virtual transmitter or virtual sensors. This came mainly for what we call machine visions or uh, visual artificial intelligence, and that is to that came from taking advantage from cameras or different source of non-structured data like drones or manual cameras or static cameras that can be processed in place, real time, and using that information and feeding the and being integrated in the system. Another thing it is that there are several artificial intelligence softwares that now are integrated in the SCADA systems, and in some cases, those integrations are made using communication protocols like MQTT, that it is an IoT protocol, or the new OPC UA. And what you can have with that, it is living in the same system, physical instruments, physical end devices with virtual or artificial intelligence generated instrument, and all together uh, work in the same time. For instance, I have seen in the last few months two examples about this. One is, for instance, some companies uh, are not are not installing anymore uh, end devices or for measuring the tank levels in some water storage, because it is not part of the production process, but it is part of the information that they need when you see the entire process. And instead of using traditional tank levels or pressure transmitter for trying to infer the 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 tank level, especially in those tanks that are moving, are not established in certain point. They are using cameras, and based on those cameras, they can infer the level, and that level it is good enough. Another for that purpose. Another thing that another company is implementing right now, it is basing all the cameras that they have in their facilities. They can in real time know how many people are in their facilities 24/7. They know who is and where it is all time. And it is not just a system that track the people. You can have that information like other input in their SCADA. And for instance, if for certain process, you need that a certain amount of people need to be present operating some facility, you can track, and if the number of people it is not the same, it generates an alarm. Or in the other case, if you have people in a certain place in the moment, or involved in a process that nobody should be there, it also generates alarms or alerts. No, that is another thing. And the new thing that several companies are talking about, we as far as I know, it is not implemented, but a couple of companies are working with is we are having, or one of the problems that we are having in terms of integrity and maintenance is the presence of sand and solids in different asset components, pipelines, heat exchangers, and it is very difficult to detect. And there are sensor and in devices transmitter to try to to measure how many sand you have. But one of the ways is uh, using thermal thermal cameras to try to by understanding how is the thermal footprint of every tank, try to predict the accumulation of sand, for instance. And this is also, as I mentioned, IoT with edge computing, because you cannot process that in a control room. You need to run those processes at the edge, and all connected in a new control system. Last one.
Eugenio, you
And
have about
finally,
4 minutes left, so we can have.
okay, let's do in two. The final technology that everybody is talking is large language model, and this is coming in different ways. The main tendency right now it is the agent. That is something that all the entire industry, not only oil and gas, the entire industry is seeing how to implement. This is the ability for having artificial intelligence that more and more are looking like uh, general artificial intelligence. It is not yet general, but agents give you the ability for training an artificial intelligence for a particular task and become an expert. And by integrating and Ernesto mentioned before, workflow orchestration. Also now we have an agent orchestration, and we can train, and that is something that it is happening, artificial intelligent agent for manage certain workflows. And once you automate that workflow, you can orchestrate with another artificial intelligent agent in a next level that manage different workflows. That is something that is happening in different way. One of the main thing it is automating reports. Uh, when you ask the people or the engineers and technicians, especially in control rooms, what is their main dedication of their times, a lot of times are used in try to prepare reports or try to respond somebody question. Someone needs some information, and even when that information is somehow available in the system, sometimes it is not that easy, and you need an expert, sometimes an engineer that try to collect the data and create a report uh, uh, without maybe adding any analysis value. The only thing it is collect the information, put all together, and prepare a report or a summary for for making some decision. And in that particular area is where agents are creating a big impact, because we are seeing in several positions efficiency improvements in terms of 50 and above uh, in the efficiency. Sorry, the last one. This is one example about what, in this particular case, why YPF implemented regarding in the real-time intelligence center. In this particular case, you can see in the news, they installed this center. This is full based in artificial intelligence, and they collect information for all the rigs, all the frac hits, and make all the decisions regarding uh, well well drilling and stimulation, also workover. And right now, it is in process to be installed a new one for production. In that particular case, it is going to be more than 60 positions working in 5 different process: maintenance, energy, uh, real-time production, uh, logistic, and um, work cover, not work cover, pooling rigs. No, these five process is gonna be integrated in just one center. YPF it is leading this. It is not the only company working in this. Phoenix Global Resources also installed a control room last month. And several companies are moving in the same direction. It is not just control rooms, are integrated operation centers, and with more and more technology for in just one place, integrate all the decisions, always based in artificial intelligence. And that's it.
Thank you, Eugenio. And thank you for those participants that have been listening. We have about 14 minutes left, so I'm going to do the closing message here, and then I'm going to move my screen into the Menti survey. There has been a couple questions that have been asked. Let me go back, and the code for the Menti is 3821 1000. So you go to menti.com and you use that code 3821 1000, and you can ask the questions, and then we want to get a little bit of feedback on your presentation, so please try to get the time to get into that, as we only have seen 2 questions so far. So to close it all up, right, so I started, well, we have this list of technologies here, and then how do we go about it, right? It to me, it always felt a bit overwhelming before I kind of put my thoughts in order and educated myself and my natural team more on what these are. But now, this is the framework, right? So definitely you should chase foundational efficiency by seamless use of data and orchestrating the work. And the technologies that are going to lead you to that are robotic process automation, low code, no code, which is very easy ways, very intuitive software to create applications, and then using Salesforce or similar platforms to orchestrate your work. So if you ask me, as a member of the industry, as a leader, I think this is something that we just simply do. I don't think we should be debating a lot in investing and taking the time to have a seamless use of data and orchestrating our work. I think this is a just do item. Now, on the other column, where you have a lot more technology, a lot more of choices, you obviously on the part of better decisions, better decision making and execution, you have all those technologies there, which I think probably the first three, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and digital twins, allows you to make better decisions. There is a question there on the chat on completions. I'll get into that. But I think on decision making and use of these technologies, you have to be very targeted. In my view, I see a lot of promise in this space, but replacing is not so much replacing the human brain capability, but is replacing the teamwork of human capability. It's not that easy, right? So you have to be targeted. In my experience for completion design, we have been very successful working with a company called Novi Labs, and we published that work in the Connexplo 2 years ago in making the decisions on completions, right? Basically, what Novi Labs did, they created these huge databases from the Permian, from the Bakken, from the Eagle Ford, and then they compared the attributes to Vaca Muerta, and then we decided what the analog was, and then based on that work, which is published, it's in the public domain, you could obtain relationships on how does the recovery of a well changes depending on what factors you're looking at, right? So I think for that specific problem on deciding the intensity of a completion, machine learning was a very useful tool, but I don't think you can use it for everything. That's really the message I got behind it. So I think you have to be targeted, also because these artificial intelligence and machine learning projects are pretty complex, and it took us 2.5 years to create that capability, right? So be very, very mindful on what you choose. But then on the execution side, helping our front lines, I think the examples that the Eugenio showed, and this latest very open focus on the intelligence centers of YPF shows that validates this theory of mine that we should double down when it comes to helping the execution on the field, right? By Internet of Things, by edge computing, large language models. We didn't talk about blockchain, but in contracts where you have a lot of transactions happening, blockchain basically is a very good ledger. You can describe it that way. And for example, for managing sand, a sand contract, right, where you have trucks and trucks and trucks loaded every day, and you have to pay each of those loads, etc. So smart contracts with blockchain, I think for sand, or if you're doing water sharing, for anything that is high volume of transactions, it could be a good way to manage those contracts in a more efficient way. And there's also computer vision. We didn't have time to talk about it, but my key message here is those technologies that can help execution. I think we should really be that's where we should take risk and try to maybe overdo to make sure we don't leave any money on the table, right? And then be proactive about the critical success factors of managing the change, right? You're changing the way you're working. You're making people now work in a platform mindset. Who makes decisions shifts when you do all this, and you may have to kind of either go adjust in your organization. And the same way, you may need to adjust your organization a little bit, your contract structure, on how you're going to create all the capabilities you need to really function pretty well in the 21st century, from data scientists to drone pilots to artificial intelligence trainers, administrators of all of this, right? So this takes quite some work, and you have to be proactive on it in order for that not become your critical path item, right? That's really the key message. If you leave that for too long, then it becomes the thing that is limiting your organization and your competitive ability to realize the benefits of that technology. So to close it out, open it to questions. I'm very thankful for it. Again, look at all these work streams of benefit, and then look at your organization and make your decisions on where you want to position yourself in a strategic way, and then divide all that work in a manageable roadmap, and try to bring most of the people you can together in an agile way, right? Not over involve people, but obviously you don't want to do this in a disjointed and disconnected fashion, because again, you're going to get yourself into a lot of trouble. So thank you for listening. Let's go to the Menti survey. I'm going to exit the slides now and go to the survey. Da, 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 da. So questions. So we have 7 questions. I'm going to read them all a little bit out loud. Or Ligia, do you want to facilitate this part?
Yeah, sure. I can start with the questions. We also have a couple of questions on the Q&A on the Zoom. So
Okay.
I like to start with those because they were made a while ago. So the first one from Miguel, it says, to build a real digital twins requires a lot of sensors and modeling and computer capacity. How do you assure computer capacity in remote areas?
I think
In this
Eugenio maybe.
particular, yeah, in the thank you for the question. There are two drivers for achieve that. One is as I mentioned before, it is a perfect balance between um, edge computing. Edge computing, it is trying to move the compute to the edge, and in some particular case, and this is something that they didn't mention, but more and more we are seeing how everything is moving to the cloud. Everything is cloud processing, but at the same time, a lot of these tools are designed to be that can be downloaded to a computed edge or edge computing, a device that you can install in the border. Then you have three 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 technology that it is helping you. One, it is edge computing. Second is the new AOT protocols that are designed, especially designed to be efficient with different communication ways. For instance, MQTT, as I mentioned before, it is a protocol that can be used in with cell phone devices or high-speed networks. And the third thing, it is the deployment that we are seeing for the new satellite constellation. In the last month, we have seen a lot of, for instance, Starlink installation antennas using in the field, and more, it is not only Starlink, we are seeing new satellites available. Actually, I don't know if you know, for instance, this is not from Vaca Muerta, it is from an experience in Mexico in a pipeline. I saw a solution. I've been part of a solution where they install satellite antennas underground. If you see the pipeline, you don't see any antennas, any device, anything. Everything is underground. But the technology now it is available. In this particular case, it was for cathodic measurement, and you can report. Now the technology it is developing a certain stage where you can even report or have communication. In this particular case, it was one data a day. It is not high-speed data, but there are technologies that are available even for solutions like that.
Thank you, Eugenio.
So the next one is also from Miguel saying, what is the implication in CapEx and OpEx?
Yeah, maybe I can take that one. Not sure if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes. So I spoke about foundational efficiency. Here, go back maybe to the slide, right? So the foundational efficiency will definitely reduce your OPEX and also the efficiency and execution. One of the things we got to be mindful on the unconventional business is that we're in the growth phase of production. So when you project that in the future in your OPEX, you're going to need more people. So if you invest early today and make people more productive, you are going to end up spending life cycle less OPEX, right? So this is a very good time to capture the OPEX opportunity by foundational efficiency and better execution. And I think decision making is the one that probably is going to help your capex be more efficient, right? Because you really will be. We're talking about making decisions on the well delivery space, which is most of the cost comes. So yeah, very good question, and Miguel.
Okay, so I think we have 2 more minutes. The last question, this is going to be our last question, so we can finish on time. From Danielle says, have you worked with machine learning models to predict dealing scenarios in real time? If so, what has your experience been like, or what key insights have you gathered? Thank you.
In my particular case, the experience that I have was is, being part in two different projects for the thing that I mentioned before, and that has to do with collecting data, because here you have different parts that you need to put together. In most of the cases, the problem or the barrier is not technology itself, it is how to deploy the technology and connect the workflows and put all together. In one hand, you have for drilling, you have the WITS-ML protocol from the information that came from the end devices and the drilling rig or the frac hits, wherever. One thing it is collect that information. We have software, we have solution for a long time that do that, but we need to connect that with a system that can process that real time and with a system that can send commands to the rig. If you don't have the ability because not all the rigs have that capability for automated or robotic control. In some cases, what we do it in the old-fashioned way. We collect the data, we process real time, we make the decision, and we send the instruction. That is not that efficient like the other. And the result that we have seen at least in the three cases that I've been somehow involved with, it was an improved efficiency in the term of the 8% in the drilling stage. I am not considered the NPT, no? Just when we are drilling, which is a lot. Because in most of the cases so far that we have seen improvement has to do with, the entire process reducing, using factory and try to reduce the entire time, especially in an NPT. But thanks to the artificial intelligence and new technologies, we are seeing improvements in the drilling stages.
So Leah, looking at the time, maybe can we get people to answer the satisfaction of the event and provide their request for future webinars, and then we can go back and answer questions. I have time for those that can remain a little bit longer online. Can we do that?
Yes, sure. Let's do that in just 1 minute, 2 more minutes.
All righty. So if you can be so kind, there's 24 of you in the event so far. If you can log in into Menti and tell us from a score of 1 to 5, how do we did? Like if you strongly agree that you got satisfaction or this didn't meet your expectations, we really would like to understand that in order to continuously improve. Um, so yeah, the Menti is open, and if you can please go and vote.
In the meantime, I would like to take this opportunity to invite everyone to our next event, which is going to be our OTC cocktail here in Houston next Wednesday, May 7 at 6:30 p.m. at the Petroleum Club of Houston. So for everyone who's there, please go to our website IPG scorehouston.org to register there, and also to look up the upcoming events and webinars. So I think we have a couple of more questions here on the chat about the experience on mature wells. Applying artificial intelligence is really applicable, this technology, on mature wells?
Well, I mean, maybe I can answer a couple of things. So when you're talking about mature wells, you're really looking into insights on production. Um, Obviously, the thing with mature wells is that upside on what you can get out of the well. I mean, it becomes pretty limited because you're now dealing with lower hydrocarbon rates, right? So yeah, so I think the big capital decisions start at the beginning of the completion, right? Try to get it right at the beginning and produce the wells. But I think that's where a lot of the focus has been. I'm not saying that this cannot be an opportunity to mature wells, but I think the machine learning element is more on the coordination of how the work gets done on the field, because now you have a very large amount of wells and compressors and different type of equipment, and I think machine learning helping you decide what to focus on the field is probably where I can see it going, right? But I don't know of any use case on brownfields of machine learning being actively used yet. But I do foresee it is reasonable to think it in the future to help decide where to focus the work, right?
Any other question?
We got still 19 participants, so if people can get on the Menti and give us your
Do you
score.
want to read questions in Menti? I think we have covered all the questions on the Zoom chat, so we can move to the Menti ones.
Okay. So the first one: how do you handle hallucinations from LLMs and AI agents in risky such as?
Oh, very nice question. Very, very nice question. Yes, it's always games because when we think about artificial intelligence, we think about something that it is perfect, which it is not perfect, it is improving. But let me tell you bad news. Human beings are not perfect neither. I have had experience. I particularly remember one that we made with a particular operator here in Vaca Muerta regarding an agent that tried to analyze the history of the drilling. No, they have a large database with structured and non-structured data from a lot of wells, and they try to process event by event, and they create a team based with young professional engineers, well trained, uh, that they dedicate 100% of the time trying to tag that database and identify events. At the same time, we train an agent that do the same. And it was not a competition, but it was a good opportunity to test how well the artificial intelligence performed in that case. And what we realized, or the customer realized in this particular case, that it was true. We have had hallucinations. That means that in certain cases, the agent, the artificial intelligence, found cases that doesn't exist. We call false positives. And at the same time, we have seen some cases where it was a particular event that the artificial intelligence doesn't detect that was fault. But when we compare that performance with the team, the human team, the overall performance was better in the artificial intelligence. Bottom line, it is if you are concerned that the artificial intelligence, that the technology it's going to create hallucinations or faults or mistakes. You are right, it is going to happen. But let me tell you that nowadays, in several fields, an improvement every day, it is doing best than us. Sorry about that, but that is happening. For instance, in Globant, we are in the programming world, no, in the world that's trying to develop code. Nowadays, the best artificial intelligence, it is in the top level of the programming. They are only it is not a fixed number, but most of the experts believes that there are only above 100 people in the entire world that can program or have better skill in programming than the artificial intelligence, and that is today. And maybe very, very soon, uh, artificial intelligence will be more able to create code than any human being. And this is going to be exactly the same in almost all the technical fields. But this is another discussion, no?
Um, yeah, let's try the Menti. Thank you, Eugenio. Just trying to see if we can get from feedback on the Mentimeter. Any reason why there's only been one vote on the satisfaction of the event? Hmm. We have how many people? We still got 16 or 15. Oh, okay, got two votes. Can you see my screen though, or not? Or just blank?
Blank, just blank.
I'm gonna put the link in the chat. Maybe want to try the link from the chat. Okay, so yeah, so there is movement on the Mentimeter. We have 5 responses so far. We got 16 participants. So let's see. Got 8. So you got 8 votes of 14 people. So that's maybe I'll call that statistical sample. Then maybe take it to the next one. So the last one, it's a cloud request. What topics will you want for the future? So if you can just put a word on what you will like to see there, and then we can close the meeting in the chat.
Okay, I think it's time to close, guys. Thank you, Ernesto and Eugenio, for a very interesting presentation on a topic that is very popular today. So thank you again for your time for presenting, and thanks everyone for joining us in this webinar. Just a reminder, this webinar is going to be posted in our IAPG Houston website. And hope to see you in the next webinars and events. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.